I'd like to call this meeting of the Municipal Council to order at 7 p.m. Please rise and join me for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now operating under suspended rules because it is election night. We will not be doing public hearings. We will not be doing committee of the whole this evening. Before we get into the business of the council, I'd like to first say, Councilor Lavoie, thank you for being here. For those who don't know, Councilor Lavoie is a brand new dad, so congratulations, and wish you and your new family all the best.
Thank you.
All right, we will now go into a reading of the mayor's communication.
November 5th, 2024. Dear Municipal Council, for your information, the city was notified by the Department of Revenue on October 16th, 2023 of a general fund free cash approval in the Water and Wastewater Enterprise Fund retained earnings as of July 1st, 2024 as follows. General Fund, $12,858,202. Water Enterprise Fund, $1,298,973. Wastewater Enterprise Fund, $1,097,430.
That's enough.
I respectfully submit a communication from Chief of Police Kyle Hegney regarding vehicles that the police department would like to surplus. There was no interest from any of the departments. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare following as surplus and available for disposition to trade in or sell, supporting documents provided.
That'll go to City Property and Claims, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the need to replenish funds to salary and wages because of an internal transfer made to earned time payment due to the retirement of 2 employees in July and September 2024. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $67,190.81 from the citywide undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account fire, salary, and wages, supporting documents provided.
Thank you. Public Safety and Emergency Management, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Library Director Amy Ringlinger regarding the need for funds to pay an earned time payment to an employee from March 2024. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $268.26 from the library salaries account to the library prior year earned time payout account.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Agent Zayriella regarding the need to pay for a fiscal year 24 invoice to Kevin Duquette in the amount of $955. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $955 from the Health Professional Services account to the health bills from previous year's account.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Agent Dan Zabrella regarding the need for funds to reimburse Health Department employees for mileage to cover current and future use of their personal vehicles used for training. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $500 from the Citywide Reserve Fund for Transfer account to the Health in-State Travel account.
Finance Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Community Engagement Manager Kaylin Furtado regarding the Downtown Attleboro Pedestrian Access Study. The city received technical assistance from the Massachusetts Initiative Program, MDI, to produce a downtown pedestrian access study. MDI chose Stantec as the consultant to provide services related to the study in the amount of $25,000. Stantec has now provided Attleboro with the final version of the study. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body accept this generous donation to the City of Attleboro.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Chief Assessor Julie Hobson and Director of Veteran Services Ben Quell regarding new local option statutes for veterans' property tax exemptions. The HERO Act is a piece of recently passed legislation, Chapter 178 of the Acts of 2024, Hereinafter Act, that among other things adds local options that would increase certain veteran exemption amounts. In particular, Section 23 of the Act adds a new veteran property tax exemption clause, which, if accepted, would increase the amount of the tax exemption granted to veterans on their domiciles under Clause 22, Clause 22A, Clause 22B, Clause 22C, Clause 22E, and Clause 22F annually by a cost of living adjustment, COLA, determined by the Department of Revenue, DOR, based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, for the previous year. After review and study, Chief Assessor Hobson and Veteran Services Director Quell recommended the city adopt this provision to be effective in fiscal year 2026. Therefore, I respectfully ask your honorable body to accept Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 221.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Health Agent Dan Zarella regarding the intermunicipal agreement, IMA, with Northern Bristol County Public Health Alliance. The city's participation in this agreement will allow an increased local public health capacity and meet the standards set forth by the Department of Public Health, the local health departments. The IMA has been approved as to form by City Solicitor Peter Mello. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to approve the intermunicipal agreement to formally join the Northern Bristol County Public Health Alliance.
I'm actually going to make a change. Initially, that was going to go to finance. We'll put that in Personnel, Veterans, Human Services.
You're going to put it into personnel?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Scott McDougall, 6 Greenfield Street, to fill an unexpired term on the Traffic Study Commission, term to expire February 2025.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services Committee, please.
As you know, the Pawtucket-Attleboro Emergency Water Interconnection is an important project that began in 2016 with Mayor Dumas. The completion of that project is finally upon us, and in light of the ongoing lack of rainfall and our current water supply issues, we will be using the interconnection almost immediately after it is operative. Therefore, I respectfully submit for approval the intermunicipal agreement, IMA, water purchase contract between the City of Pawtucket Water Supply Board and the City of Attleboro. This 25-year agreement will allow for the sale and purchase of water between the municipalities if and when an emergency need arises. The IMA has been approved as to form by City Solicitor Peter Mello. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to approve the intermunicipal agreement water purchase contract. In accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro, I respectfully request your honorable body to consider this as an emergency measure.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Stephanie Elliott, 60 Brownell Street, to fill an expired term on the Planning Board, term to expire February 2029.
Personnel, Veterans, Human Services Committee, please.
Sincerely, Kathleen D. Simone, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now go on to reading of the clerk's communication.
Clerk's communication, November 5th, 2024. We have received the following 3 Class 1 renewal applications.
License Committee, please.
We have received the following 25 Class 2 renewal applications.
License Committee, please.
We have received a Class 3 renewal application.
License Committee, please.
We have received an amusement arcade license application from Chuck E. Cheese, 287 Washington Street, for 65 video games.
License Committee, please.
We have received from Massachusetts Electric Company doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated requesting permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures along and across the following public way: Dunham Street, install 4 Joe poles on Dunham Street, all to feed new medical office building at Sturdy Memorial Hospital.
Public Works, please.
We have received an...
And one moment, Vice President Dolan, would you like to call for a public hearing on December 17th?
Yes, please.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
We have received an amusement arcade license from Post 312, 437 Newport Ave, for 1 pool table and 1 jukebox.
License Committee, please.
That concludes the communications for this evening.
Thank you. We will now go into committee reports, and we'll begin, as always, with Councilor Kobus.
Thank you. Reporting for the Finance Committee from the docket of November 5th, 2024. I move to authorize the school department to pay the following previous year's school bill totaling $2,308.40. WB Mason, $1,308.40. Dylan Yep, $1,000.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
It's a previous year bill.
Any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Kobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares? President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Perfect. From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to adopt the recent Attleboro Retirement Board vote in favor of increasing the cost of living adjustment base from $13,000 to $14,000.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
We discussed this pretty extensively in committee 2 weeks ago.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? One thing I will say, I think with this vote, it's important to keep in mind that not only is the cost of living increased, so has healthcare costs. So this could hurt them if this doesn't go through. Okay, seeing no other questions, comments, concerns, we'll have a roll call vote beginning with Mr. Tavares.
Mr. Tavares? Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
And from the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to approve securing a purchase order from funds in accordance with, from funds in account citywide special events professional services account, summer celebration event, special event account, 4th of July professional services, and account fireworks professional services in order to sign a contract as soon as possible for a 2025 Independence Day fireworks display.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
Let's get this money secured so that we can get a, sign a contract for the 4th of July fireworks.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote beginning with Council Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the Finance Committee. I call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Cobus. Council Foa.
From the docket of November 5th of 2024, on behalf of the IT and Infrastructure Committee, I move to transfer $320 from the account Budget and Administration Professional Services to the account Budget and Administration Previous Year Bills to pay a fiscal year '24 invoice to Sensible Computer. This was for...
One moment. Thank you. Motion's in order. Now you may make your comments.
Thank you. This was for facilitate email. And we discussed it in committee.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote beginning with Council Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
This completes the business of the IT and Infrastructure Committee for this evening. I call for another committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Foa. Councilor Lavoy.
Thank you. Reporting for the License Committee from the docket of November 5th, 2024. I move to approve the following Class 2 renewal applications from the following. Tri-Town Auto Sales, 1850 County Street for 4 customer parking spaces and 6 display spaces. And Blue and White Motors, Inc. at 1815 County Street for 4 parking spaces and 15 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
I visited both of these dealers and everything's in order.
Okay, additional questions or comments? Seeing none, this is voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to approve the Class 3 auto renewal application from Tri-Town Auto at 1850 County Street for 4 customer parking spaces and 6 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
Everything's in order at this dealership.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns? This also is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to approve the Class 1 auto renewal application from Just Trailers, Inc. at 1863 County Street for 12 customer parking spaces and 7 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any comments?
There was actually no trailers there at the moment. It's his off season, but he's looking forward to being back in it in spring.
Excellent. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all the business for the License Committee this evening, and I'll call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you very much, Councilor Roy. Councilor Reynolds.
Reporting for city property and claims. From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to accept the generous donation of gift cards totaling $650 from the Holiday Spirit Committee to the Outreach Office of the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
I have none.
Additional question, comments, and concerns? This will be a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to declare the following park and forestry equipment as surplus and available for disposition. One copier, it's an MP 2553, and it's in very poor condition.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
I have none.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to declare the following election office equipment as surplus and available for disposition. It's one fax machine, and it's poor and unworking.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
I have none.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
President Delicio?
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
From the docket of October 1st, 2024, I move to accept a land donation from Tom McNulty, shown as Assessors Plat 164, Lot 1 AP off Cathedral Drive.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
I have none.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
As I read this fifth motion out, I'm going to read the original motion that came out of committee, and then the amended motion that will include the ground lease and the sundown clause. And then I'm going to turn it over to Todd Cobus for a little bit to talk a little bit about the duties of the council.
I'll turn it over to Todd.
You'll turn it over to Todd. That's what I meant. Okay. From the docket of September 17th, 2024. The original motion read as, I move to approve the proposal to declare 5.496 acre parcel identified as Assessors Plat number 115, lot number 1B, a portion of Highland Park with a current assessed value of $977,400 as surplus and available for disposition.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank
And-
you. Motion's in order. Any comments?
No, I just have an amended motion.
So now you'd make the amendment.
Okay. Pursuant to Section 2-11.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I entertain a motion to declare the 5.496 acre parcel identified as Assessors Plat number 115, lot number 1B, available for disposition by ground lease, subject to the following conditions: that in the absence of the party's full execution of a ground lease agreement no later than December 31st, 2025, this declaration of availability shall expire on January 1st, 2026, such that said parcel no longer shall remain available for disposition, provided that with the approval of the mayor, such expiration date may be extended by a subsequent municipal council vote.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, Councilor Reynolds?
Yes, before we even vote on that, I would like to allow.
Do you have any comments yourself, and then I can recommend?
Well, I have, I approve of this. I'm looking forward to it. I think that we will then have two subsequent times to say no to it if we don't like it as the RFP comes out.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions, comments, concerns?
So I had a couple requirements for the amendment. One was, there were two things that I wanted to see in this amendment. And so I'm specifically talking about the amendment that's before us. And
Correct.
I'll wait to make further comments. The two things that I wanted to see in this amendment was the sunset clause, which we have included here, which is December 31st, with the option to extend that if we have a vote to have that extension. The other thing that I wanted to see here was explicit language in there that said that the council would review anything that came before us, because, and I knew that there were laws that the ordinance said that it would require council approval for us to sign off on anything that before we handed it over to anybody. But I thought it might be valuable to actually explicitly call that out in the amended language. And in going back and forth with the mayor on this, she didn't like that redundancy. And in this handout here, it explicitly calls out our ordinances as provided in section 2-11.5 of the revised ordinance of the council. This explicitly calls out the powers of the section of our ordinances and the council's rights as specified in our ordinances, in the revised ordinances. It says, under the municipal shall select the person with whom real property is to be purchased or leased, or to whom the real property is to be sold or leased, as the case may be. So that is explicitly called out in our ordinances. And so based on that, I agree with the mayor. I don't think we need that duplication in this amendment. So I'm okay with just having the sunset clause in here and explicitly calling out the ground lease like it says here. So I like this amendment. I think it's very clear, and I'm okay with the amendment as it stands.
Thank you. Councilor Tavares.
Thanks for that explanation, Councilor Kobus. I'm in agreement with this amendment. I will support it. My main concern, as I alluded to during committee, was the scope of the business as it was provided in the motion, and I think based on Councilor Reynolds' proposed amendment, that certainly narrows the scope to the really the purpose, I think, of the negotiations that hopefully the mayor is hoping to enter into with potential developers for ground lease. So I thought that was important. I like the way that that's covered here. I think the sunset clause is great as well, because it creates a timeline around that. So again, I'm in full support of this amendment.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. So, thank you for putting some work into rewriting the motion. I still think that there's a lot of areas where we could potentially say what we're hoping for, what we're looking for, prior to this going out, similar to what we did to County Street with the old high school. So a ground lease can be 35 years, or it can be 50 years. Or, okay, so we could, again, tell the administration what we're looking for the RFP to have in it. Otherwise, it's going to come to us and everyone's going to say, well, I didn't think it was going to be this, I didn't think it was going to be that. Whereas we could direct in terms of what we're hoping for. So I do think that it's light on the details, and we're giving up something not really knowing. I get it that it's going to potentially circle back to the council, but at the same time, if we were never going to put in 300 apartments, then why bother having this go to that, go out for bid? So that's my concern, and so for those reasons, I'm not going to be able to support this.
Thank you. Councilor Kobus.
Thank you. And just to respond to that, and I was going to keep my comments to the amendment initially, but in talking to the mayor, one of the things that I went back and forth with her about was, when this does come to, provided she's able to actually find somebody that's willing to when she sends it out for an RFP and is able to find someone that's actually willing to come up with a proposal and they can negotiate a contract, and it does come to us for an agreement, one of the things that she agreed, and we talked about, is that contract is public record and will be available to us for review at that time when it comes to us for approval. Now, one of the things that she mentioned is, at that time, it's too late for us to make changes to it, and too late for us to, all of a sudden, for all of us to be lawyers and try to change the terms of that contract, because that's when it's sort of a thumbs up or thumbs down time. And so, with regards to influencing the RFP and trying to encourage the mayor to make changes or influence that RFP or what that contract looks like, I think it's up to all of us to send suggestions to the mayor ahead of time and talk to her and encourage and let her know what you hope to see as part of that RFP or whatever. But it was important for me personally. One of the things that I was really nervous about in thinking about this was, okay, what happens if the company goes under and there's senior housing, and does the city now become a landlord? And it was important to me that we are able to look at that contract and review that at the time of reviewing the proposal before we agree to anything. And so I was assured now that what we're agreeing to today is a very first step, that all we're doing is saying, okay, let's look at some options. This is not agreeing to anything. This is just, okay, we'll see some options and let's look at some things. But there's a lot of things that would need to happen before a shovel goes in the ground. And this is just saying, okay, let's see if this is even possible. And for me, I'd love to see if this is even possible. And these changes in the amendment, I think, protected us enough that we'll be able to review the contract. We have the sunset clause. We have the protection that guarantees us in our ordinances that say we can definitely review anything that comes to us. We're not just signing over Highland Country Club. We're not just saying, yeah, here you go, we're disposing of this completely. We as a municipal body, I believe, are protected, and this amendment covers, I'm satisfied that we're protected here to be able to at least see what options are out there.
Council Sawyer, Fuller, and then Reynolds.
I hear what you're saying, this is just something that we can, asking for offers. You mentioned in there that there would be a time that we have to give our recommendations of, specific requirements between now and then, correct? I mean, is there like a step things that we have? I don't know how this all goes, so I'm just trying to ask the questions about when we would be able to say, we want to make sure there's enough parking. We want to make sure that, certain things are part of the developer's idea or something as it comes to us. So I just want to find out when that all happens.
Council Reynolds.
That's really up to our planning and the mayor. That's an administrative thing when they build out the RFP. That's what he knows. We don't know what they need exactly. We can research it, but that's for them. We when it comes back, after it's been sent out, and somebody decides, as Todd said, maybe that they want to look at it, and this is what they need in order to make some money as well. If it comes before us at that point, if the city picks one and comes before us, that's when we don't like it, you say no. It can't go forward unless it gets the votes to go forward. And I think everybody wants, has in mind a certain amount of what they might allow and what they might not allow. And then if we say no, that doesn't mean that the mayor, if we were willing to allow that, to go out again as another bid with the things that now that we've seen, because we don't know. Because we're not the builder, we're not the one that's thinking about it. That's why we have the option for it to come back, because we make the final decision, really, whether we want that. Does that kind of clarify what you're asking?
It does in some ways. I think that,
You could send info, is that what you're saying? Like Todd
Yeah.
suggested, you could
Right.
mention, you can write something to the mayor and tell her what you don't like, but she really, at this point, doesn't have to listen to us, because they're writing the RFP. And that we finalize, not the RFP, we finalize when it comes in. That's where our role takes place.
Councilor Reynolds, do you want to make your other point now, or are you satisfied?
I'm
Okay.
satisfied.
Councilor Foley and Councilor Holmes.
I think there's something untoward or odd about saying, we're not lawyers, so we can't go over the contract in, in this capacity, I'm not acting as a lawyer. And we can't go over the contract as lawyers might to change this and to change that. I agree, once you've negotiated a contract, it's up or down. So now is the time, it seems to me, to put some limits, some parameters on an RFP, to say we don't want, in any event, to see more than X number, 80 units. I mean, we can come to an agreement about that and put it in an RFP. We don't want to see parking, I don't know. I mean, I think a discussion of parameters for an RFP is appropriate at this moment. Otherwise, the mayor may get 5, 10, 11 suggestions from us, none of which have power, none of which may be coherent, they may be contradictory. Let's come to a discussion and determination now of what we think the parameters are, as the president suggested when we discussed this in committee, to put our arms around the project. I don't want to dissuade the project, and I'm not a developer, but I do think that we can put some not too tight parameters on developers, so that then when we get a contract, we're not surprised that it's 80 units or 120 units and not the 30 we were hoping for, or whatever it is the particulars are. So that would be my suggestion, that we not approve this in this form. I like the sunset clause. I like that we have, there's no question, but that we have to approve the contract ultimately. But to give up all of our power now to create some parameters seems to me unnecessary. And I think with a couple of weeks, we could work on that.
Thank you. Councilor Holmes.
Yes, I agree with everything that Councilor Foe is saying. Councilor Cobus's point, I like that this idea is creative, and I really have to give the administration credit for that. But once the disposition happens, Councilor Reynolds, you just said, she doesn't have to listen to us. I mean, this is going to waste time, because it's going to come back to us and we're like, well, we never were going to agree to this. It's now that we should say this is what we're open to or not open to. Now, everybody knows where I stand. I don't want any housing, but maybe the rest of the council can come up to some agreement of what they would be comfortable with. This is the time to do that. Otherwise, something's going to be presented to us. Maybe nothing's going to be presented, and it's going to come back to the council to decide what to do because of the time frame, or the sundown clause. But now is the time to say this is what we would be agreeable to or not. Everybody has in their mind what they think that this could look like. Some people think it's going to be 2 different buildings. Some people think it's going to be one building that's 4 stories high. So doesn't it make sense for us to say this is what we would be open to or not? And I'd also like to bring up the other, I didn't think it was going to be possible to have housing there. Clearly, I'm wrong, and all the property is zoned as residential. I would like to talk about how we can get that into Article 97 and how this was going to come out together. I think now, I think this council has an opportunity to make some big changes with the property as a whole, and I know that I'm getting off topic, but I would like to see a package deal with this. But I think that just it's like giving a 16-year-old just, a credit card to go get a car. Oh, I hope they come back with something reasonable. I mean, I don't know what that means. We have to set the parameter here, and we have an opportunity to do that. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. VP Dolan.
Thank you. So, like Council Holmes says, I absolutely applaud the mayor, the administration, anybody that had anything to do with this idea. My concerns are, like Council Cobus said, that we can review the contract and such. I mean, I can't review I could review the contract. I can read, right? So I can understand what it says. But I don't know what I don't know. So my concern is, what if something's not in the contract that would be critical for this to be a good decision? Like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So again, I applaud this idea. I agree with the Article 97 on the remaining 87 acres or whatever, but that's my concern. I know that lawyers will look over the contract and everything, but my concern is if something's left out, I don't know, my gut's not going to allow me to vote for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor LaVoy.
Thank you, President Delicio. First off, I want to thank Councilor Reynolds and Councilor Cobus for working on this. I think that the amendment as proposed helps with a lot of clarity and comfort to make a decision whether for or against. And I didn't get an answer back, but one thing I had proposed or mentioned to Mason and a couple other people in the administration was the possibility of sending out 2 RFPs, one proposed or driven by the council and one by the administration, to which, maybe we get a hit on both and we get to decide from the 2 number ones. Again, I haven't heard anything that it's not feasible. I know it hasn't been done often, but I don't think that this type of project is a very common project. So when we're talking about the scope of things that aren't done often, hey, this project is one of them, and I think that is one of them. But in regards to setting restrictions to the RFP, I would caution against setting a unit cap. I think that's within the scope of the planning board to be able to decide if it's a feasible amount or not. When you start putting restrictions like that, you're messing with dollar figures to a developer, and I get that, it's not about being pro or anti-developer, but where we want to see potential plans, I think doing things that are going to immediately impact the top or the bottom line for a developer seems a bit much on our end. I trust the planning board and Gary and everyone else to make a good decision to give us something to review, maybe even a couple different things to review. And my final point, if I may, I'm in favor of this on this notion. I don't know that I'll be in favor of the end project or the end envision, but what I do think is, I think we owe it to the taxpayers to review and to look into a way to save $13 to $15 million, maybe even more now with inflation. And again, we have the final say, but I really think that we do a disservice by not even exploring the opportunity when we have a lot of financial burdens coming up. So I would urge you to vote yes for this and keep the stern outlook down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delicio. I got a few points here. Council Cobus did state that we can send some wish lists in. I don't think that's a big deal. I think that's pretty simple. If we want to do that, not a big deal. As for reviewing contracts, did we all review the high school's contracts? That is, to Councilor LaVoy's point, that is for the planning board, that is for the building inspector, that is for them to do that. That is not our responsibility. We're not here for that. As for, as stated, a kid with a credit card. We're not sending a kid out with a credit card. We still have, as Councilor Reynolds said, we have the right to refuse this a couple of times. So it's not like we're throwing it out there. And we owe it to the city and to the veterans and the seniors to actually at least look into this and not just say no. Because if you're saying no, you're saying no to the opportunity of possibly looking down this. And the proposal we have right now is $15 million. There's no way the city can afford $15 million right now. In 5 years, maybe, but there's going to be some hard times. That $15 million is going to grow to $20 million. And then you're going to bond for it. And I'm not an accountant or anything, but maybe when it's all said and done, that's $25 million. So I don't know who in the world thinks that we're going to have or be able to afford $25 million for senior center and all this stuff. And without us, we owe the citizens in the city to look at this and at least look at this. We can still say no if we don't like it, but we need to, let's just stop messing around. Let's just get this done, and at least let's look into it. That's all I have to say.
Councilor Corbis and Councilor Follow.
I think Councilor Lavoy and Councilor Angelo expressed my thoughts exactly. I mean, we owe it to the taxpayers and to the residents, the seniors, to the veterans, to at least hear what options are available. And as far, I mean, I feel like this is obvious. Like, we're not giving anything up. All we're doing is saying, let's go. I don't want to say go. Let's see what options are out there, and let's just listen, and let's also trust in the mayor and the administration that they have the city's best interests in mind when they're looking at these proposals. As far as like adding restrictions, sure, we could add a bunch of restrictions, but there's already a huge restriction on there. This is limited to 5.5 acres. They can't go beyond 70 to 80 units with 5.5 acres. I mean, they're already limited to the number of units just based on the parcel size that we're talking about. So I think we should let the developers be creative and see what they come up with, and trust that the administration is going to like review those with the city's best interest and our seniors and our veterans' best interest in mind, and then see what they come up with. And I think we owe it to them.
Thank you. Councilor Follow.
There may be options, but we won't have an opportunity to review them. They will all go to the mayor. And the mayor has shown great creativity in coming up with this initial idea. I applaud her for that. And I do trust the mayor in many respects. But I think that there are reasonable parameters that we could discuss. It's not going to, Councilor Angelo, delay things indefinitely. This, a vote to say no to this now doesn't mean that in the next council session or the one after that, we can't actually propose some parameters and suggest them. And if we can't come up with that, then I would be in favor of just going ahead with it, carte blanche. But I think we don't have to do that. And I think I would feel a little more secure if there were some parameters that we suggested to the mayor, that we ordained, that we required. It's not a push it aside forever and come up with $20 million. I don't believe that. We can talk, find among ourselves some parameters, and send it upstairs with that in mind.
Thank you. Councilor Waterman.
Well, I have to say first and foremost that I support Councilor Reynolds in what we're going forward and doing. I have my own parameters like parking, but I think that if we don't touch a blade of grass, and I don't see us even remotely saying that here, that we're going to stay on that parking lot, and that parking lot actually acts as a parameter in a lot of ways. There's only so much you can put in for apartments. And when you do that, you can't overwhelm the senior center. And I trust that the parking will be worked out through our mayor, because you have to have enough room for both entities where they don't get in the way of each other. But this is a first step. And I would like to ask Councilor Reynolds, if I may, question.
You may.
Councilor Reynolds, what do you envision as the second or the third steps possibly be?
Look, to me, this is just the very beginning.
Right.
It's going out to Gary. He, along with the mayor, will determine how the RFP looks. That's his job. We let him do it all the time. That's what happens. They will make the decisions based on, just as Todd said, the amount of land that's there, 5.5 acres. It's as simple as that. They will come back, they'll be innovative, they'll decide, the builder will decide what he's looking for. They might, I don't know what the mayor is gonna put down for the amount of apartments, if any. If she's gonna put 50, if she's gonna put 100, that's not my business. My business is what comes back in the way of the RFP. That's our business. That's why we get a look at it. That's why nothing, once it comes up, can really be changed. We're gonna see it. We're gonna say we don't like it, or we're gonna say we like it. That's the thing. If there are more changes that need to be made to it, that even by the mayor, let's say, or Gary, they have to bring those in front of us again. But if we don't like it, you say no. That's just it. We're not throwing money around. We're giving a builder the opportunity to look at an RFP that is designed by this city in the best interest of the city, because that's what they always do. So I don't even know why we're discussing that. But that's what they do, that's what our planning department does, and then it goes out, people bid on it, they make a design, we get to look at the designs. And maybe we'll see all three of them, maybe they'll pick the best one. Again, that's their prerogative as the administration, and if we get it and see it and don't like it, you say no. And then the mayor might bring down a second one or a third one, who knows? I don't know. We might not even get anybody to come back in the RFP. They'll say it's not worth their while. So we don't even know. I'm not gonna put perimeters on Gary, tell him how to do his job. Not in a million years am I gonna do that. So I'm in favor of this. I'd like to see it go forward. If it's not something you like, say no.
Councilor Sawyer.
I just wanted to make a comment that, we did have a public hearing about this, and there were lots of people who came and said they didn't want housing on Highland. And they're the voters, they're the people who, came to the public hearing for that reason, to talk about it, to talk to us about what they wanted to see at Highland. That's just my comment.
Council Holmes.
Thank you. I don't think we can minimize this. It's a current assessed value of close to $1 million, and we're making it available for disposition as surplus. I mean, that's something that we're doing. We're saying that this property is valued at this, and we're saying, okay, see what you can do. And that, I don't think it's a bad idea to have some expectations of what we're looking for. Otherwise, we're just we are wasting time. And we have some challenges here. What we often do is do these feasibility studies and don't direct the individuals enough of what we're looking for, and then we get these big price tags back, right? Like we're shocked by how much things cost, instead of saying, this is what we would be able to do. As the council, I think we need to understand our role. Like, I'm working towards understanding my role more and trying to get more involved in, could we have renovated the clubhouse at one point? Is that something that still could be an option here? What would that look like with the free cash that we did have come in? And I understand Mason's point of view. He doesn't want us to be, he wants us to be mindful of those funds. But at the same time, like I said, I applaud the creativity, but I am concerned about that the Article 97 has been in committee since December 2022. I want to see, the whole property is set up as residential, and we have a responsibility, especially after the public hearing, to make sure we're going to hold true to what we thought that property was going to be used for. That concludes my comments.
Thank
I know
you.
I'm going on. Thank you.
All right, Council Cobus.
And I'll be really quick, with regards to the public hearing, President Delicio, one thing I'd like to ask where, regardless of if this requires a public hearing to approve of, if we were to approve of this tonight, I'd like to ask of you if this were to come back before us, for us to approve the RFP, for you to call for a public hearing for that. I don't know if it would require one or not, but I know one of the things that we heard from the public was there weren't enough details and we didn't know exactly what was coming before us and we're signing over a blank check and this, that, and the other thing. So if this were to come back before us, regardless of if a public hearing was required or not, I would ask that you call for a public hearing for that. And could we agree that we can do that?
Excuse me, that's fair.
Is that okay?
Excuse me, that's fair.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions, comments, concerns?
May I?
You may.
I have a question about, so you're asking for a public hearing after we see the contract that satisfies the RFP? We don't get to look at the RFP independently.
Right.
So you want a public hearing
When
On the
it's time for
contract.
us to agree.
to the
into-
contract?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that there was no,
So the public would
Certainly
also weigh
something we
in
can
on it.
address.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
It's certainly something we can address.
Okay, okay.
Councilor Lavoy.
Thank you, I appreciate the leeway there. Really quick, I think the mayor is gonna be watching and realizing this is not a unanimous decision. I think if you send out things you hope to see, a lot of them will probably make it in there, on the sole fact that otherwise they're wasting their time if they think that, you know, if they don't listen to us at all and they come back, they're gonna probably get shot down and waste months of time and taxpayer dollars by putting Gary on the project. So I think if you email the administration, you'll probably see some of those in there. Will you see everything? No, but it's worth reaching out. I think it's naive to think that, you know, our input's just gonna get thrown away or put into the shredder right away. And then regarding parking, we have an ordinance in place for one spot per unit as of now. Like, I know Gary wanted to go to 0.8, but parking would already be addressed under the ordinance. Thank you.
Additional questions, comments, concerns? Vice President Dolan, if I could, I'd like to give up the seat.
President Delicio?
Thank you. So, there's a lot that's been said tonight. A lot of it, I agree. I'm gonna vote in favor of this amendment. I will vote against the initial motion. I think we did have the public hearing. There were a lot of good questions asked that weren't answered. I don't know that I have a firm understanding of what the vision is. Are we looking housing, senior center? Is this proposal gonna pay for the new senior center? You know, I do take umbrage with my colleagues' comments that if we vote against this, that we're not supportive of seniors. I've been supporting the seniors for the 14 years that I've been involved in local politics. I can't support this the way it is. Am I saying no? Probably more not right now. I asked a lot of questions and I got a lot of, I don't know. That's the beauty of it. No, that's not the beauty of it. We're here to make a decision. We have to, like, I think Jonathan's the only one who can say he's a real estate attorney. The rest of us aren't. We can give a wish list, but this isn't going to the North Pole. It's not going to Santa Claus. We don't know what to be asking for. I just think this is all premature right now. I do want to recognize the hard work that Council Reynolds put in. She's put in hard work on this, the same hard work that she put in on the old high school. But I just think that there's a lot of questions we don't know. I want to know more of what the vision is. And I asked for a plan, should have said vision during the public hearing. I want to know more what the vision is. I can't support this the way this is. Thank you. We'll now go into a vote on Councilor Reynolds' amendment. This will be a roll call vote, beginning with Mr. Kobus.
Mr. Kobus?
Yes.
Ms. Foa?
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Vice President Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
No.
Mr. Angelo?
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman,
Yes.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you. The amendment passes. We will now go back to the motion as amended. Do we have any additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
No.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
No.
Vice President Dolan.
No.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
No.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
President Delicio.
No.
Six yeas, 5 nays.
Motion passes. Councilor Reynolds.
That is all the business city property and claims has this evening, but I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
You got it.
Thank you.
Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. Reporting for Public Works Committee, I have 2 motions, which is an emergency motion. From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to adopt the following as an emergency measure. That the Attleboro Municipal Council vote to take action as provided in the City Charter, Section 2-9B, regarding the emergency which presently exists relative to the request of the mayor to approve the intermunicipal agreement water purchase contract between the City of Pawtucket and the City of Attleboro. Due to the water emergency which currently exists, excuse me, and the effects on the safety and health of our community, the nature of the emergency makes it necessary to take action without waiting the prescribed time as provided in the charter.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
This is just to approve this as an emergency measure.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of November 5th, 2024, I move to approve the request of the mayor as an emergency measure to approve the 25-year intermunicipal agreement water purchase contract between the City of Pawtucket Water Supply Board and the City of Attleboro, in accordance with Article 2, Section 2-9B of the City Charter of the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Everybody knows, I assume, what's going on, and that we're in kind of a little bit of a pickle here with our water situation. So this is, they're not saying we probably will have to use Pawtucket's water, but we may not, if everybody can pray for some rain. So in light of that, I ask that everybody please approve this.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Tavares.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. That's all the business I have for the Public Works Committee, and call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Oh,
Votes.
yeah, right on the,
I parked on the wrong side. I'm very sorry.
no worries.
Gotta get it in before 8.
There you go.
Whoa, last minute, very last
She's
minute.
got 2 minutes.
Oh, my God. Did they already take them in?
Reporting for Public Safety and Emergency Management from the docket of November 5th, 2024. I move to transfer $42,302.55 from citywide reserve fund for transfer to account police earned time.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any comments?
Thank you, run over it in committee.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, this will be a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Cobus.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Foa.
Yes.
Mr. Lavoy.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Vice President Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Sawyer.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Tavares.
Yes.
President Delicio.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That concludes the business this evening. I'll call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Angelo.
Thank you, President Delacio. We have no new business for Personal Veterans Human Service Committee. Call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor Sawyer.
No new business. for zoning and land use, and I look forward to the committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you,
And the
Council.
same with the Traffic and Transportation Committee. We have no new business. We will meet at the next appropriate time.
Thank you, Council Tavares.
Ordinances, elections, and legislative matters has no business for this evening. We call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
There is no old business, one piece of new business for which I will recognize Mr. Angelo.
Okay, I refer the following new business for Sunday recommendation. Request a no parking sign at the entrance to Steeplechase Complex on the right side to cut back on the hazard of entering the complex.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any comments?
Just that when you come in, generally you see a lot of cars on the right-hand side parked there on grass. It shouldn't be there. It causes a bit of an issue when you're coming into Steeplechase, and it could be hazardous.
Okay, additional questions, Mr. Lavoy?
Thank you. I support this. I grew up on Jackman Lane right off Steeplechase. And when this came in, I went and took a look, and there was cars all over the sidewalk on both sides of the road, and it was hard enough to get my truck through, so definitely a hazard.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, there's a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That'll go to Traffic and Transportation. Before we adjourn for the evening, I do want to take a second to thank all the poll workers, all the volunteers who've been out there all day. Our elections office, who was tall order this year with the early voting, mail-in ballots seem to be at an all-time high. So it's great to have the level of volunteers that we do, so thank them for all their hard work. That being said, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We adjourned at 8 o'clock.